Howdy folks, for this Whiskey Wisdom Wednesday, I want to talk to you about screw tops versus cork tops of whiskey bottles. So, a lot of times when people see a cork, they think it denotes value of the whiskey or of the wine, but in actuality, it doesn't always. That's kind of something that as humans we started leaning towards. We also have an affinity towards corks. Like if you think about it, even some of the whiskey videos that you see, we love to pop a cork, we love to pop champagne. It's just something about that. It's like celebratory, it's just fun. But corks have their own issues. So in one of my previous videos, one issue that corks have that I covered is storage. So similar to anything, made out of that type of material, if you get it wet long enough, it's going to start to degrade. And it's going to actually change the way that your whiskey tastes. And if that whiskey stays in contact with that cork for too long, it'll start to degrade it, it'll start to break off into the whiskey, and then you have your own issues there in addition to changing the flavor profile of that whiskey. So that's why in the past I have recommended not storing your whiskey bottles on its side. But on the flip side of that, you also don't want to store the whiskey upright, because if you store it upright for an extended period of time, that cork is going to dry out. And I don't think I made a story, or I did make a story about this, but I didn't make like a video of it. For my 30th birthday, I bought myself a nice bottle of whiskey, and as soon as I tried to pop the top, the cork was dry, the cork was stuck in there, and then of course you have to get the wine opener. Ended up pushing it through, whole debacle. And so what you have to do is that you have to flip your whiskey bottles upside down for about 10 to 20 seconds ever so often to make sure that that cork doesn't dry out, but then also it doesn't remain in contact with that cork for an extended amount of time to dry it out. Also, in addition to this, corks don't have as good of a seal as you can get when you screw on a top. And so what also happens is that your whiskey can evaporate. Granted, we also know that in the distillation process, some of the whiskey evaporates in the barrel and stuff like that. That same thing can happen to your bottle because corks aren't as good as getting that tight seal. So, some of it starts to evaporate. I don't know at what rate, but it is a possibility. So even some great brands like Weller, some people may not have seen this, but some of the Weller bottles have screw tops on. So the main thing that I want to get across here is that screw tops don't always represent poor quality whiskey. It could simply be that the distiller has chosen to go with that to make sure that their whiskey bottle has a better seal. So I think it's something that the industry is slowly trending towards, and just don't let it scare you away. It's just a different way to make sure that, you can store your whiskey bottles more easily, and you don't have to worry about that evaporation or the changing of the flavor profile of your whiskey, which is actually quite amazing. Yeah, that's it for your Whiskey Wisdom Wednesday. As always, if you have any topics that you would like me to cover, I'd be more than happy to. So feel free to comment below or send me a DM. I hope that the rest of your week goes well. Cheers, folks.